had this on the dyno on Friday, and unfortunately there was a few small problems that just ended up eating up a bunch of time and a whole bunch of setbacks. So kind of just decided take it back off the dyno, bring it back inside, and just kind of start fresh here on Monday. It's like 30 degrees cooler today than it was on Friday, and it was just insanely windy on Friday, so every leaf in the whole forest of the earth all blew in here. We're gonna clean that up a little bit and hang the front end of this outside and set it back up on the dyno again. Kind of the primary things that went wrong, aside from all the interruptions and stuff that I deal with on a daily basis, is out of the blue the car started like not cranking or cranking real slow. Not off to a very good start here. It won't crank, so the likelihood of this the battery making it through the day is slim to none. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do yet. I eventually got to the point where it wouldn't start anymore, even though the battery voltage was okay. Searching around, I found that there was a loose terminal on the cutoff switch. Oh, hopefully we just got lucky. This cable's totally loose. So let's cross our fingers that that's gonna take care of this. And I thought once we hooked that back up that everything would go back to normal, and it did start one time after that. All right, cross your fingers. Hopefully that'll take care of it. If not, we kind of might be dead in the water before we even really get going. Awesome. And then it went back to where it wouldn't start at all. You gotta be kidding me. Within walking distance of here, there's actually a brewery and a distillery. I've never been to either, but I'm about to go empty my bank account at both of those places. Found out that where the battery itself was grounded to the car, that connection was loose. All right, found a new potential issue. That's the main ground for the battery. It seems promising. Let's try this one. Tighten that up, and then luckily that corrected that. All right, moment of truth. I thought we were in the clear last time, but it wouldn't start the second time, so let's try it again. Alright, I think we're back in business. But the primary thing that I was dealing with on this one was, why is there a fork in my pocket? That must be a side effect of having a 3-year-old, I guess. So anyways, this is using dual solenoids, a dome pressure sensor, but it's using manifold pressure as a control source rather than CO2. This is the first car I've set up that way with Holley, and I don't know if maybe there's something else going on with this car or if that's the reason why, but all of the PID settings were just insanely different than normal. So I ate up a bunch of time playing with that, and then of course I kind of got a little bit picky and just spent probably more time than I should have trying to sort that out and just tinkering and playing and experimenting. So long story short, we made it right to like 590 something horsepower on Friday. Trying to get it over that 600 mark without turning the boost up anymore. I kind of didn't want to put any more time in it, but it was late. I had to get out of here, so I just kind of called it quits there. And the real deciding factor there was we're out of gas with the 93 octane that was in it. So I was trying to make it to 600, but couldn't do it. So now for today, we're gonna throw some ethanol in it. Set it back up on the dyno. So I jumped into this car thinking it was gonna be maybe a little closer than it was, because he's been going to the racetrack and everything else. Turns out, there was some stuff that was set up that would seem to be really weird, like the boost control PID settings were pretty wild, and it was set up for the wrong map sensor. So 1 PSI of dome pressure was more than doubling the spring pressure. So it was getting to like his target of what he wanted to run, but just kind of like not really the right way to get there. Now the downside is it only has 6-pound spring and no CO2, so it's probably really not going to make any more boost than it's currently making. So we may have to run a regulator, an air compressor, and set it all up. And at that point, I guess it will be the moment of truth of if the PID settings just need to be that different when running manifold pressure, or if there's something else in the system going on. So I'm gonna get it all set back up and we can get started again. So the owner of this car, we've talked a handful of times before he got the car here, and he seems to have a pretty good handle on the Holley stuff. I'm honestly surprised he is leaving it with me to do this. Kind of would have figured he would have just asked to rent the dyno and done it himself. So I don't know his level of experience, but he seems to be able to jam through the software pretty well. Surprisingly, the O2 sensor is actually picking up air-fuel ratio pretty well, considering how short the downpipe is. Sometimes, you know, with a real short downpipe and the sensor real close to the end, it'll kind of read a bunch of nonsense. So we'll see how that is once we actually start driving it and whatnot. But at idle, it seems pretty good, and usually it just gets better from there. So 567 on 6 psi, but the graph's nice and smooth, so far so good. We're just shy of 600. Let's see how much the manifold pressure is. Alright, so the big difference with the manifold pressure, rather than CO2, you can see this is the dome pressure sensor. This red line down here is the second fuel pump coming on. And I need to pull a touch of fuel out of it. But the dome pressure is pretty reasonable right now, but the biggest difference is that with CO2 the pressure is always available, so it just kind of targets it, hits it, and then it holds on to it. But with manifold pressure, it doesn't have any pressure until the pressure is available. So as the turbo is making it, it's trying to regulate it. And yeah, it's a whole different ball game apparently. This is the first Holley car I've done using dome pressure. Manifold pressure, god damn it. The manifold pressure, dome pressure combo rather than CO2. But son of a bitch. I'll probably pull a hair of fuel out of this and throw another pound at it, get to like 600, and probably call it a day here. And then hopefully, I guess it'd be Monday at this point, I'm trying to make this video a little bit more exciting. Holley sent me this transfer pump, and if I can find some batteries, this seems like the perfect opportunity to try it out. So it kind of looks like you put it up your butt. It's actually pretty convenient. It's maybe not quite as fast as just simply pouring it in, but if this was bigger than a 5-gallon thing, it'd be even more convenient. But what's nice is now I can do other crap while that thing's doing its thing.
Let's turn this shit up.
Alright, to put into perspective how often I get interrupted and how much nonsense I have going on throughout the day, it's been almost 4 hours and kind of finally ready to get going on this again. Now, since I'm suspecting there to be some boost control issues and needing to run compressed air, and that's not how this is set up, I'm actually going to run this as 2 separate tunes, even though it's a flex fuel deal. So we can very easily kind of blend it together to make one, but this way he can drive around just using manifold pressure, and then, you know, if he goes to the track or something, then you can switch over to CO2. That way you don't have to deal with CO2 all the time. I made a bunch of cold start adjustments on the 93 tune, and I'm hoping that that's not going to backfire here now that we got ethanol in it. So we're off to a good start. Now I got a air for the flex fuel sensor. Alright, let's see if this thing will want to start. It's been sitting all weekend, so it's dead cold. This is like a true first start. I could ask for it to been any better than that. Alright. Let it warm up and get started. I'm gonna make a run with just 5 pounds of pressure on the dome just to verify that all the flex fuel stuff's working. Timing's increasing as it should, which I just have a couple degrees in it. Let's see if everything's working. Graph looks beautiful. So using CO2, all of our PID values are back in the normal range. So I think the conclusion here is screw doing dome pressure, dual solenoid with manifold pressure as a control source. That sucked. Here's power in the graph. The phone never stops ringing. You can actually see it comes in a little sooner. As you'd expect, running CO2, that's kind of one of the advantages of it.
I hate this stupid phone I got. That's why I ain't finna do no more videos.
All right, everything worked perfect. The log looks good. Maybe I'll start trying to actually record the screen now. So now I'm gonna throw 13 PSI on the dome, which is where we ended up with the 590, whatever it was. Figure out the boost control stuff. I suspect it should, hopefully, make a little bit more power now that we got ethanol in it and it's 30 degrees cooler outside and it's not heat soaked. I forgot to record all the screen stuff because I'm an idiot, but it made 660 and my assumption is the boost went up a little bit higher than before. Please God, don't do this to me, not right now. Oh my God. Literally doesn't get worse than this.
I ain't a killer, but don't push me.
Alright, I failed miserably at recording anything that time, so I'm gonna make the same run with 1 degree more timing. And I don't know what the hell is up with one of the two computers, but every time I log in, it just kicks me right back out. So I don't have time to fool with that today. So we'll just try and look at some logs after some runs. 687. Glancing at the screen while I was making a run, I think this is about 16 PSI. So you can see that the red was 1 less degree timing, yellow was 1 additional degree and didn't change anything else. So probably could pick up a little bit more with a little bit more timing. It's pretty damn bright in here. So if we scroll through this log, this fluctuates a little bit, not too bad though. A lot better than with the manifold pressure based. And I'm gonna say I'm just gonna kind of collectively add 2%. Add like 2 bar and above. $1 million question becomes, do I throw another degree of timing in it or turn the boost up a little bit? Let me think about it. Went from 13 PSI to 15 PSI on the dome pressure. And we'll see if that does what we need it to do power wise before, you know, go crazy with timing. Well, obviously we're not anywhere near crazy if we're still picking up that much power, but we'll try boost and then timing if need be. Customer of this just told me to stop where I feel comfortable, which that's like a 2-hour long conversation on that. So I think I'm probably gonna make this run, assuming it makes 700. I might stop, give him a call and see what he wants to do from that point. But things running like $1 million, so pretty happy so far. Well, it's kind of boring. Power was basically exactly the same and the boost didn't really go up any. So might be at that point where we need to go a little more aggressive. Fueling change worked out good. Gonna give it a minute to cool off and then, I don't know, we'll throw another 5 pounds or so. should have just stayed in it. Fueling stuff looks dead nuts, but the boost got a little higher than I wanted it to. Go figure, 696. But I got out of it way early. I was trying to make it get to like 20 pounds. I lifted it 22. Let me look at this. I'm either gonna back it down 2 pounds or just let it roll like this. Let me take a peek at the dynograph and see what I come up with. So the boost had actually stabilized by this point. When I lifted, I was just kind of under the assumption it was going to keep going up. And I have a boost safety that kicked in at 23 pounds, so I knew I was about to hit that. But if we follow this up, it should make some pretty decent power. Everything looks happy. I think I'm just going to make one run like this and see where we're at. Almost forgot to raise the boost safeties. I'm pretty consistent at forgetting that. Just make sure we got this uploaded. Yep. All right, let's give it a shot.
Baby, baby, come on, baby, come on.
Good. Play if you want, let's do it.
Here's our hood rack boost control. Here's the difference. Alright, let's talk to the customer, see what he wants to do. Nobody ever answers the phone when I call. You should never call people. Everyone should only communicate through text message and email. But sometimes you have to. I feel like this is one of those worthwhile things. Everybody thinks their car blew up when I call them because everyone knows I don't talk on the phone. Consistency is key. No answer. Alright, scrolling through. Alright, there we go. Got a -1. There's so many zeros, I thought that maybe I've turned closed loop off or something. Geez, that's might be as close to 0 on the closed loop correction as I think you can get. Alright, so yeah, right at 22 pounds, 20 pounds on the gate. And I can't post a video without anybody asking about timing, so here's basically what we're looking at. So there's some individual cylinder stuff going on here as well, but nothing overly exciting. Air fuel's fat. Timing's pretty low. We got our base timing, and then here's our actual timing with all the different adders and stuff we have going on. So we got plenty of injector. I don't know. I'm happy stopping here unless he wants to keep going. I don't see why this thing wouldn't make 800, but I'll let him make that call. So that way, if shoot the fenders off with some pistons or something, then that way it wasn't entirely my decision. Dynograph looks great. Thing seems to be running like $1 million bucks. I'm happy with it. I'm glad this all worked out. This thing's pretty cool. I bought one of these IS300s way back when they're still kind of like relatively new and way too expensive. And unfortunately, in my drive from picking it up until I got home, I decided to sell it. So I literally drove it home and put it up for sale. Hey, what's up? Not a whole lot. Just wanted to give you a call, give you a heads up, and $1 million question is figure out if you want to keep going on this or if you want to stop here. But at 22 pounds, pretty soft on timing, pretty conservative basically all the way around. We're at 757. So I think it's totally capable of making 800, but kind of like risk versus reward type thing. If you're a dyno number guy, we can you know, turn it up a little bit and try and make a number. Or if you're a racetrack guy, we can kind of run it as is, shake it down, get it to where it actually like hooks up and goes. And then once you get it where you kind of can't really get it going any faster with the power that it's making, then we can start creeping up on it. That's what I have a handful of other guys that are doing. And actually this weekend we're turning a few of them up. So hopefully we don't blast the parts out of them. But
blast me off, son.
Yeah, it's running awesome. Oh yeah, yeah. If this, I mean, shit, you throw a turbo 400 or something in this thing, it would fly. All of your challenges are gonna, you know, be in trying to shift it and get it to hook up and leave with the clutch. So yeah, I think the more power you have when you're trying to do that, the more difficult it's gonna be. It's about 67%, 67% ethanol. I did not drain the tank, but it was so low on 93 that it was like to the point where it wouldn't idle anymore. Yeah, exactly. I have guys that all they care about is numbers. They can care less how the car drives. I got other guys that want to make a number because they are planning on selling the car, and a car that makes 999 horsepower is worth less money than a car that makes 1001 horsepower. So there's, you know, that aspect of it, which is again why I always ask. But if you're actually planning on using and driving the car, I'd suggest we stop here, and you know, we can always turn it up down the road. Yeah, just, you know, make a phone call to whatever trans guy, buy a converter and a turbo 400, throw it in there, and you got an 8-second car. But cool, man. Well, I appreciate everything, and just let me know when you want to grab it, and I'll let you know the price, and we'll go from there. All right, man. Talk to you later. See you. I think this car's super cool, so I'm glad everything got sorted out and worked out and made good power. Customer seems happy with it, so it's always the primary goal, I guess. That's going to do it for this one. I appreciate everybody that's watching, like always, and I'll see you next time.